This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Patriots easily could have lost this game.
Easily.
It would have been on the defense and the kicker, but I did predict a high-scoring game. I predicted, I think 30-27, I think earlier in the week on my podcast. I think I might have had 34-30, I don't know, something like that. But I figured both defenses were going to be in a world of trouble, and I did on my podcast on this network say that this could be Drake May's sort of breakout game, and it was. For some reason, I have visions of this getting loose, people just airing it out, people making plays. Maybe Drake May, maybe this is his big breakout game. I don't know. Possible. I might be crazy. Maybe I'm losing oxygen because I've been talking a lot in this podcast. I don't know. But
it was the four-man rush that did it. I think that got you a little bit loopy, that back and forth.
I think so.
Trying to recover from the corner.
By the way, I was just looking at the Dolphins roster because it's going to come down to a field goal. This is Andy Borregales going back to his college home field. If he can't kick here, oh boy.
Yeah, and there you go. So this is the disturbing part of this. It's a win, and it's great. I don't know. I mean, you'd rather see wins than losses. And again, you're not tanking for draft picks anymore this year, so you want to see development. But the defense, of all of the things that we had to pump the brakes on a little bit with this team, I think, again, you're missing your best defensive player and probably the only top 10 player at their respective position on the team right now in Christian Gonzalez. That alone is not enough to explain what's been a pretty bad defense overall in terms of their ability to cover, their ability to tackle. It's not looking great right now. How concerned are you overall with just what you're seeing from the defensive side of the ball against, the teams that they faced so far?
I'm very concerned. They were not good. I mean, again, Miami barely had the ball in the first half for like 7.5 minutes, and they had 165 yards. They were averaging like 22 yards a minute of possession in the first half, which is just ridiculous. And it didn't get a whole lot better.
About 10 yards of play. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it was bad. And if Miami wasn't, shooting themselves in the foot more than you were with delay of games and illegal shifts and, Tua doing Tua things like, it could have been even worse. So, yeah, I mean, sort of when I adjusted my thinking about this season, some of it had to do where Drake May was in this offense, which we saw in week 1. This is a very nice development for week 2. And then it was the defense, because I thought that the linebackers weren't very good. We saw that exploited again today. I thought that, you have 2 new safeties sort of, in the mix, and, and you don't have Christian Gonzalez, but that is no excuse for the way that they played defense the first 2 weeks. And, that if this team is going to do anything, like if the offense does this every week, and I'm not talking about even scoring points, the way that they did, of course they had the kickoff return that factored into it. But if the offense does this every week, they should be competing for a playoff spot. If they're not, it's because the defense has not been good enough. And they were just getting exposed to man coverage in the first half. They changed that a little bit in the second half, but not nearly good enough on defense.
Yeah, and the one I'm most concerned with is at this point is Spillane, because you already were pretty thin at the linebacker position, and that's supposed to be your guy that you feel the best about there. You spent money to go get him in free agency, looked good in camp and preseason, has not looked good through 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's I take a lot of issue with the defensive approach, the defensive play calling in the
what
first
specifically
2 weeks. Well, I mean, of course, it was the blitzing in the first game. This one, it was the man coverage. And that's the thing about man coverage is, like, you could say, even when Gonzalez comes back, you could say, oh, well, we're going to play man coverage because we have these two great cover corners. And plus, Marcus Jones is pretty good at it. His only thing is he's short, so he gets picked on sometimes in physical mismatches. But you can say that, But here's the thing. Everybody else has to play zone. I mean, everybody else has to play man-to-man. That means Robert Spillane. That means Christian Ellis. That means the safeties. And so, like, if you can't do it, don't do it. Like, I would much rather them, especially in the first half where you're owning time of possession, make them go up and down the field, dinking and dunking. Instead, they're giving up pass plays over their head. Like, they're giving up the edges. It just, probably the most underwhelming thing so far. And I don't know how the Terrell Williams, Zach Kerr situation is playing into this, but compared to, like, let's say, when Belichick was here, when they could, actually, play defense at times, I don't think the defensive approach has been sound for this team each and every week.
Well, why is that? I always have an issue with the idea of coaches having a system that this is who we want to be if the personnel doesn't necessarily fit that system. And again, it's different when Gonzalez comes back. You are able to play man a little bit better there. And maybe it's just, we're not going to change over one guy. We're going to play this way until he gets there. And then that's what we're going to be. We're just going to be better at it. But again, that is interesting to me. If you don't have the horses to do something a certain way, do you have to try something different? How much of that is just stubbornness at this point? How much of it is literally just trickle down effect from not having your best cover guy?
Well, I do think that the Titans, and a lot of these guys came from the Titans with Mike. I think they were kind of a, we're going to do what we're going to do. But, they also had, pretty, whether it was like a David Long at linebacker, they had very athletic linebackers. They had Kevin Byard at safety, who was a playmaking safety. And, who knows, maybe Craig Woodson gets there, but he is a rookie. Jalen Hawkins has been mostly a, get back safety, and now you're putting him in different positions. I think it's, Robert Spillane is a guy who, I've always liked. He's a good, solid football player, but he's not a playmaking linebacker except in the pass game, like in zone drops. He's excellent at that. But he's not going to be able to run with a chain or something like that. And to ask him to do that is just, to me, not putting your players in the best position to succeed. And I think at some point, they're going to need to have a reckoning, and they're going to be like, all right, well, who are we? And how do we work off of that, instead of saying like, well, this is what we like to do in 3rd and long. And this is, they have to match their personnel a little bit better. And that's another thing. I mean, I did think, Marte Mapu got the big interception. You did see them go with, Mapu a little bit more in dime. They brought coverage. They brought in the, Charles, what's his name? 22, Charles Woods. On at times. So I would like to see, some more packages, and maybe that develops as the season goes along.